we're teaching, we're alive. We're like diamonds in the sky. Teach right like a diamond.
Hello, fellow fellows and fellow educators. This is Diamond Emerald bringing you another gem. Good vibes, education, and motivation. It is that time. Pre-order your copy of my new book, Teach Like a Diamond, Dynamic Teaching for Today's Teacher. Today's sneak peek is about the R in Shine Brite, which stands for Real, Recognize Real. And today just so happens to be Father's Day. So happy Father's Day to all you men out there who have taken the charge and have stepped up to be fathers in the lives of your biological children, including all the other children you've fathered in your lives, in your family, and in your circle. So thank you for every person, every man who's been able to father children, even if they're not in your direct family. Thank you, every educator who has stepped up to be a family to the students in your classroom. So when I think about real, recognize real, I'm definitely talking about current events and dealing with literally the current events of your students' lives. So not just national events, but whatever they're bringing into the classroom, making sure that's real and relevant. But I want to talk about my daddy today and how he's always been real. So my father, for 14 years, was a corrections officer, and a good one at that. And I would always wonder and ask my dad, right? I'd ask him this story at a particular, I'd ask him this question, at a particular time. I'd always ask him when he's getting ready for work. And he would do the same thing in the same motion as he's putting on these big black boots. So he'd come into, he'd have his whole suit on, you know what I mean? You know, have his badge there, have his shirt buttoned up, have his belt on, shiny, and everything's ready and set to go. The last thing he had to put on was his boots. So he would come into the living room, and I'd usually be sitting on the floor, and I'd say, Daddy, how come none of the inmates ever attack you or hurt you? Sit down, stretch out his arms, put his foot up, and say, I don't bother them. They don't bother me. That was always how it started. I'd ask him, how did he escape the danger? How did he not get in a situation where he was beat up or mobbed or anything like that? He said, it's because of the way that I treat them. I'm not there to punish them. They already received their sentence. They received their punishment. Being in here is their punishment. It's not my job to make them suffer more. That, ladies and gentlemen, is real. How do you exemplify that in your practice? How are you real with your students? They technically already have to come to school, right? If they don't, they'll be marked truant. But how are you inviting them into your space and instructing them in a real way that prepares them for the real world? And I know teachers, we throw that term around so often. The last time I spoke to students in Connecticut, they talked about that. They talked about how teachers abuse that word, the real world, for excuses, for putting them under extensive pressure, for having ridiculous deadlines, for not realizing they were in other classes and they had personal things going on, for not seeing them where they are. So when I say, teacher, be real, I say be real with yourself and be real with your students. Identify where they're coming from and make sure that your class is not some extra punishment for that, but that you're teaching lessons that are relevant, that are real, that are genuine, to prepare them for not the real world, but the world as it should be. That means having high expectations because expectations matter, and having grace and mercy when you need it. Because even when someone is talking behind your back, your integrity, your truth, your reputation will precede you. So fear not. Shine bright. Have a wonderful, wonderful week.
Shine bright, teach right, you and I. Teaching kids like diamonds in the sky. Teach bright like a diamond.